Greetings, friends, and happy Monday. I am Sam Bullington, and I am a writer and teacher, public speaker, counselor and coach, and the founder and director of Phoenix, Colorado's Trans Community Choir. And I wear many hats professionally because as a trans person, then my way of life, my way of being in life is fluid and multiple. And so I'm not really a one thing kind of person. So I spent much of my career as a college professor in gender studies. Left that all behind when Donald Trump was elected to take my teaching and focus on transformation to the broader world that really needs it. You may have noticed. And welcome, Daniel. So tonight I want to talk some about, we have a harder life path, but what are we going to make of it? And so one of my main tools in teaching and counseling is the paradigm shift. And so what I mean by that is that I help people to think differently. And this is really important because our emotions and our experience of life, what we think of as reality, whether our personal reality or our collective reality, then this is really determined by our thinking and our framework for life. And so when we shift our framework, then we change everything and we create new possibilities for ourselves and for the world. And so you can just think for yourself, when you've been upset about somebody else's behavior towards you, but then you later found out the circumstances for that behavior. And so you understood better why that person acted the way that they did. And you found out that it wasn't about you at all. And so oftentimes, our negative emotion just completely drops away, maybe even replaced by compassion. And we realize that, what was causing our suffering was actually our interpretation about what happened. And once we have more information, maybe we even realize that, we were never really harmed to begin with. And so that's the power of the paradigm shift. And I consider myself a cultural worker primarily. So though I do one-on-one counseling and mentoring, I'm not that interested in individual diagnoses. Instead, I diagnose us culturally and help people to see the impact that their cultural training has had on them. And so my original training was in anthropology, and so I have a good ability to be able to see the big picture of our societal programming. All the things that people tend to take for granted and interact with unconsciously, similar to how I and you can step back and see things about gender that most cisgender people just simply can't. And so I help to bring to consciousness the things that we've been trained to keep unconscious. That's the essence of the book that I just wrote about polyamory as a spiritual path. Helping people to understand, what all that they've signed up for, often without realizing it when they take on monogamy. And so I help people to be able to see that better so that they could make more empowered choices about how they want to respond. And that's a lot of my project around gender as well. So my counseling training is in shamanic counseling, which means that I am a shadow worker. So I help to illuminate all of those things that are under the surface that we have disowned, both personally and collectively. And, while many people find this a little disturbing because they don't really want to know what's lurking around below our awareness, most folks actually find it incredibly eye-opening and helpful and satisfying to have greater awareness. And so I see my job as helping to free people, to show them how they've been domesticated so that they can undomesticate themselves and live freer lives. And so because my job is to illuminate the dysfunctional training that we've had, then I'm very passionate about interrupting this assimilation narrative of social justice that we have. All the kind of, we're just like you kind of arguments for societal acceptance that are based around claiming some kind of normalcy. And so I show how, queer people are not here to be just like everyone else. I believe that we are here to cultivate and then to teach new ways of being and loving for the benefit of everyone. This is a really important role and job. And that the mainstream is actually not a happy place to end up, but instead is a place that is extremely toxic and dysfunctional. It causes everyone to suffer, even those who seem to be most benefiting from it. And so that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do, because I'm not fighting for a better world for my little group, but I'm working to create a better world for everyone. Because having more spaciousness and less punishment around gender and sexuality for starters, but not ending there, would actually make a happier world for everyone, regardless of where people are located on the spectrum. And so, therefore, I have a couple of types of main work that I do in the world as my life purpose. And so, one is I work with mainstream folks to help illuminate their unconscious programming and the suffering in their lives that has been created from it, for instance, by the gender binary, which they tend to be largely unaware of. And so I help them to heal from the trauma and the imprisonment that has resulted from their experience within the mainstream. And then I help LGBTQ folks also recognize their unconscious programming because we have it just as much as everybody else, and the suffering in our lives that has been created as a result, which we are largely aware of. So we tend to know it. And so I also help folks to heal from the shame that has resulted from the rejection by the mainstream and the trauma that comes with that as well. And the shame is a lot of, what drives those efforts toward assimilation that need to win societal acceptance and to find belonging in the mainstream. And so a lot of that just frankly disappears once we're able to heal the shame and the trauma that is underlying those kind of impulses. And I help trans and queer folks to move beyond feeling like vulnerable victims at the hands of a cruel society and help them to remember who they are and why they are here and to cultivate that inner sense of empowerment so that they can be the influential leaders and teachers that they are meant to be. And so my 8-week online empowerment program and life transformation journey is one of the main ways that I do that. And so in that, we spend 8 weeks, intensive weeks together, busting through, whatever is blocking you. So your limiting beliefs and where you're feeling stuck in life, so that you can level up and be at your rightful place in life. Actualizing the confidence and success and flow and joy and abundance and love that we all want and need as part of our human journeys, leaving you feeling free and empowered, confident and secure, connected and cherished, and overall feeling safe and relaxed and at ease in life on the other side. It was one of my biggest challenges personally, is just how to feel at ease in life, because it just never felt that way for me. And so if this sounds like what you're looking for, then don't hesitate to reach out and we can have a conversation and see if you are right for the course. The shamanic path is the wounded healer path. And so that means that you cultivate your healing abilities by being wounded yourself and then learning to heal yourself. And in that process, then you develop tools that then you can turn around and use to help other people. And so wherever you are feeling currently stuck, you can be rest assured that I probably have been there myself, and therefore likely have tools that I have discovered that can be helpful to you as well. And so all of us experience trauma over our lives. It's one of the universals of human experience, and it is purposeful. It helps us to develop compassion and resilience, gives us the drive to seek healing. And so where we get stuck is where we don't have the tools to be able to resolve and heal that trauma. And then over time, we tend to lose hope that those tools even exist that can help us. And then we fall into despair, feeling like, we'll always be stuck and there's no one who can help us. But this is really just merely a misperception on our part. That's where part of the paradigm shift of our thinking needs to happen. We just don't have eyes to see that there's actually help right nearby. And in one profound moment, with just one new tool, that we can turn everything around in our lives instantaneously. And so while all of us experience trauma, marginalized communities are subject to exponentially greater trauma. And so we are more in need of healing. That's just a fact. And so while this is challenging, it's not necessarily bad. And so I really want to emphasize that tonight. We have chosen a harder life path for sure. So if you're feeling the effects of that, then you are right on track. That is exactly right. We are on the Phoenix path. And so that means death and renewal. And so, the being reborn part is pretty cool and empowering. But the death part, is really just not so fun. But you don't need to go it alone. And so many of us, have been wandering around in the wilderness for decades, not even sure that there is a path. At least that's how I felt. Because we have been tasked with creating the path. And so, that is hard and scary work. We're going to get scratched up a lot, and we're going to step in a lot of sinkholes. And it takes a lot of inner direction and confidence on that path, because we really need to listen within in order to be able to find the path. And we really need to be able to trust that inner guidance in the absence of any external confirmation that we are on the right path. There's really going to be no signs. We're going to have to find those within. And that is going to be lonely and overwhelming. And we are going to be feeling discouraged and lost much of the time. So we're going to need to reach out for help a lot and exercise a lot of self-mastery to be able to keep going. And so, that really starts with, stop expecting that it's going to be comfortable and stop feeling resentful and sorry for ourselves in the midst of that discomfort, and just accept that, we are on a harder path. Like, that is just simply a fact. And we can't afford to waste our energy resisting what is and rehearsing all of our obstacles and feeling put upon and feeling victimized. And instead, we really need to learn how to work with it. Because as I mentioned, then, although it is challenging, that is for sure, it's not necessarily bad. And so, we are on an accelerated path of growth. That's how I see being trans, gender expansive. That's how I see the path of polyamory as well. And so, for being trans, and this is in part by living multiple lifetimes within one body. So, we have double the lessons. And so, yeah, that is hard. It is like taking double the classes in school. But it also means that we are learning double. And so we are also having double the rewards. And so we are learning things and cultivating tools that people who have an easier path just simply aren't. And they are lesser people as a result. Not that they're bad people, but just they have less depth to them than we do. And so we have that most people just cannot even imagine because of the multiple life experiences that we have had. We have a depth of self because of all of the self-work that we have had to do in order to be able to survive. And with that, we have character and we have resilience, and those qualities really count. We have unique experience and unique knowledge. And, the last time I checked, then actually that was, a huge plus under capitalism. That's what everybody is looking for. Like, what is the unique experience and unique knowledge that they can market? And so most people are flailing around, really without a lot to offer. And we have so much to offer from our life experience that has been really unique and is really needed. We just need to be able to articulate it so that others are able to recognize it as valuable. And, to, for instance, pay us for it. So, we are standing in the future. where everyone is headed eventually. I'm very convinced of this. And so, we just don't need to struggle to convince people or to go chase them. They actually need to learn from us. We don't need to become more like them. And so they are heading our way. And because that's inevitable, we could just simply relax. However, we are meant to be bridges to that future. And so our job is to help people out of the burning airplane that is mainstream culture. And that is a super important job. And we cannot do that if we are busy hiding and feeling scared and licking our wounds. We're in the exit row, basically. And so we have special responsibilities. And so, we need to get it together and to step up. And there's a lot expected of us. And so we really need to be able to dig deep and to be able to bring our best selves. And so, are you forgetting who you are? Do you find yourself feeling immobilized, rehearsing all of the things that you can't do? Because the more that you focus on what you can't do, the more that becomes your life. And why on earth would you want to settle for that? And so, what can you do to get energy moving in a different direction in your life? Because no matter how bad off we are, there is always something that we can do to help ourselves. And valuing ourselves enough to reach out for help is actually a big one. And so you are stronger than your circumstances. I really want you to know that. And so, we all have one chance at life. And so, is this the life that you want? And if not, then, how bad does it need to get before you make a commitment to turn it around? Because it is really making the commitment and saying, like, I want more than this is a lot of what gets that energy moving in a different direction. And nobody can really do this part for you. You can get help with other parts, but the making the commitment part, that's really a matter of when you are feeling ready, when you have had enough. And so you have to care about yourself enough to say enough is enough. But when you're at that point and when you're ready to make a change, then there is help to take you across that finish line. And so reach out and let me know that you're ready, and let's get this journey started, because your happiness, your freedom, your leadership, possibly the life of your dreams awaits. So, wow, lots of folks. Yes, you are exactly right. It is a high calling. I am very, very convinced of this. It is a special assignment that we have. And because of that, it really does demand the best of us. And part of how we bring our best is through having to deal with, continual adverse circumstances. Like, that is really what forces us to dive deep. It's a lot of what I wrote in my polyamory book. That is the gift of polyamory, is that, much of it can be total hell. But because, it can be like super challenging and your back is against the wall and you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to survive the next 5 minutes? That is really when you find the best of yourself. And once you find the best of yourself, like, then you own it. Like, you have that, you know that you have it, you can use it in multiple situations. But most people, we are trained as part of our dysfunctional cultural training, is that we are trained to seek the comfort zone and to think that comfort is happiness, and to feel very entitled to our comfort and to feel very attached to being comfortable. And so when people are comfortable, we just simply are not motivated to dive deep and to bring our best. And so, oftentimes that's why, people will talk about, say, a cancer diagnosis as being one of the best gifts of their life, because that is what really prompted them to wake up and to really evaluate for themselves what kind of life that they wanted and to really make the most of their time. Because when we're just sitting in the comfort zone, we're not living our best lives. And so if you are looking at other people who are sitting in their comfort zone and feeling jealous and wishing that you had more time in the comfort zone, I can tell you that, the comfort zone feels good for, a weekend, maybe a couple of weeks, but beyond that, it pretty easily turns into restlessness and boredom. And beyond that, it really turns into attachment and terror, because then we're afraid to lose it. We know that we're not happy there, but we feel tied to it. It's kind of like the golden handcuffs. And so that is really, from my experience in life, that's a much worse place to be than to be marginalized and to have your back up against the wall because, when you can rely on yourself, nobody can take that away from you. But when you're, doing that dance with mainstream culture of like, oh, how could I get the rewards? How much of myself do I need to sell out? That is just not really a place of peace. And it's definitely not a place of empowerment. And so, although our life path is quite challenging, and I would never contradict that phrase because I know how challenging it is. I do feel like, for myself, I just wouldn't really have it any other way because I feel like it has really made me the person that I am and has really given me a lot of gifts and strengths that I just wouldn't have if I had taken a more conventional route through life, an easier life. I might have more external goodies, but I definitely wouldn't have a happier and more satisfying life. And I definitely feel like I have a much more important role in the world as a result of being the person that I am and as a result of the unique and unusual things that I know because of the individual life path that I have chosen. And I feel like, everybody's really longing for that. When I talk to my students, they are feeling trapped and they really wish that they had the courage to forge their own path. And so, when they see people like us who are doing that, it really does change the world and it really does change their sense of what's possible. And you just have no idea over the course of your life, no matter what a shitty day that you're having, how many people are actually watching you and how many people are finding inspiration from your example. And it could be the very people who are tormenting you. But the reason they're tormenting you is because you're actually threatening to them, because you are mirroring back to them where they are not free. And so that makes them feel jealous, that makes them feel agitated, and they want to take that out on somebody and they want to stop other people from being free because that reminds them how unfree that they are. But underneath that exterior, then probably what is going on is a lot of envy, that they actually wish that they could be more like you, even though they will never tell you that. And so that is also part of the paradigm shift, is really being able to see, below external appearances and to not just take life at face value. That's a lot of what our gift is to teach, is that, you just can't look at surface appearances and think you know what's going on. And so, since we are teachers of that, we also need to remember that in our own lives and to be able to practice that and to know that whatever we're seeing on the surface and whatever we're imagining that means is probably not the case. And so really to listen to our hearts within and to really have the courage to walk our life path, even if nobody else gets it, because really the only people that it needs to make sense to is just us. Like, you're the only one that you have to answer to. That's really it. All right. Thank you for your comments. And thank you for being here. If there's any other comments or questions, I'd be happy to take those. Not sure if I'm seeing everybody's comments. Someday I will figure out this technology. And thank you so much for, all of your love. And I hope your Monday's going well. I hope you have a great week. And I will check back in with you later in the week. All right, take care.